Welcome, everyone, to the Calling It Out podcast. My name is Matthew Britt,
And I'm Jamie Schick.
and today we are joined by two gentlemen, Michael and Joey Jurgielewicz from Jurgielewicz and Sons Incorporated. Duck, a tasty duck. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. How are you today?
We're great. Thanks for having us.
So I
Yes,
want to go into a little bit of quick introductions, just kind of like who you are, what your role is in the company. So Joey, if we can start with you real quick.
So I'm Joey Jurgielewicz. I'm a real life duck farmer. So I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. I think our first job on the farm was picking eggs up when we were 5 years old. So I think I got a promotion. I'm a director of business development. So we do everything from new products, current products, and just taking care of some national accounts.
Very nice, very nice. And Mike.
and I'm Joey's younger brother. So I also grew up, and as Joey said, we were born and raised right there on the duck farm. And Joey and I now work hand in hand together in business development and marketing. And I have a focus also on exports for us. And I'm based living out in Los Angeles, where Joey lives still on the farm in Pennsylvania.
I feel like, Michael, you get kind of a better break right now on the weather. Well, I guess not. I mean, not recently. You guys had some challenges out there, but in the impending snow coming, the weather out there might be slightly better now. I was fortunate to meet, you guys and your company a few weeks ago. You were up at Johnson and Wales. You were kind of talking about your product. It was really exciting. And, I got to hear a little bit about the history of Jurgielewicz Duck. But I wonder if you could give us, and maybe Joey, I'll just go to you on this, a crash course in sort of like where you started and then where you are today. I know it began, you're based in Pennsylvania now, but it didn't start, didn't start in Pennsylvania, right?
No, our great grandfather started in 1933. He was one of the original Long Island duck farmers in New York, probably about as far out as you could go, 2-3 hours out on the island. So my great grandfather, he started in the early 1900s. So 1933, they are him and his wife were immigrants from Poland. They originally had, I guess you could always say, we were always in the hospitality business. They owned a pool hall and a bar in Brooklyn. And they had a couple in Brooklyn and the Bronx, and it's kind of during Prohibition time, so it wasn't the nicest job, you could say, in it by any means. So my great grandmother, found out about duck farming in Long Island, and I can only imagine how the conversation went, telling a pub pool hall owner that, hey, you're going to close this thing down and move to Long Island to raise ducks. So I guess he chose right, and so they started the farm out there, and they had three sons. One of them was my grandfather, Joe Senior. He and his brothers took over the farm. Eventually, he sold out, retired. During that period of time, my dad, Dr. Joe Jr., was in veterinary school up at Cornell University. And after he graduated, he kind of, I think how we were joking earlier about we're only good at one thing, only know one thing, ducks. And he's like, I need to go back and do this. So him and my grandfather started Jurgielewicz Duck Farm here in Pennsylvania together. And Mike, when was that date again?
It was in the summer of 1984, where in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. And from there grew the business to where we are today.
You touched on this a little bit in your brief history there, but I'm curious why duck and why you've stuck with only duck when we know that there are other poultry options that may be more popular or more well-known out there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can jump in here, Joey. So as he said, my dad was born and raised on the original duck farm out on Long Island. And so every day, he had four sisters. So he was working on the farm all the time, and he just loved farming and the ducks. And then when he went to vet school, he was kind of the odd man out in his vet school class, where he was wanting to focus in not in horses or dogs or cats. He was focusing on the poultry side because he always knew he wanted to get back into the duck farming business. And there's really no other, I guess, we're the only veterinarian owned and operated duck farm in the world. And so it was kind of a niche for him, and just grew. That's his passion. And like we say, you need to keep the ducks happy and healthy. And that veterinary degree really comes in hand with that.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me because as I was like reading more about your farm and what you do, I love that you really take care of these ducks and you really want their well-being to be at like the forefront of their lifespan. And I feel like it's semi-contradictory to have like this beautiful life and then and how they do. But can you talk a little bit about why having a founder who is a veterinarian is really so important to your whole process?
Um, it's like having a doctor at your house every single day. So they're watching over your nutrition, really of everything that you're eating, your hospitality, the cleanliness of your house and everything. It's there's a direct correlation between having the best air quality, the best bedding, the best water, the best food, and I think that's for all living animals. I like to use an example from the hotel world. If you go stay in a hotel or even a restaurant that says 1 star, versus going to a 4 or 5 star and having that difference in hospitality, you definitely feel a lot different leaving one place versus the other. I think we can figure that one out. So really that is our biggest thing is really the better you treat the animal, the lower the stress, the better the product is in the end.
You know, that's super interesting because I feel like, again, there's a lens on this now, right? And it's not just necessarily ducks, but in the world of where eggs are very hard to come by, I feel like the cleanliness and the general well being of the animal does have a correlation to like potential disease that could come into that. And you know, I don't know how strongly connected, again, the world of chicken and the world of duck is, but I'm sure that's a priority for you in making sure that these animals are treated well and they're raised properly. And to Jamie's point, you know, it is a little ominous to think about like all that well-being going in. But I just tell myself that they change careers at some point from being a duck to, you know, something else. But a midlife crisis, if you will. But so just to go back a little bit to the why duck question, I think I want to dive a little deeper on that because it's not just why duck, but it's why a certain type of duck. Because you raise only, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you only raise Peking ducks, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So, white
So,
feathered, orange bill, orange feet.
but why? So what? And I'm sure there's a reasons, and you'll tell me. But why Peking rather than other, let's say, popular sort of? I don't want to say more attractive from a chef's world, like a Muscovy duck. You know, it definitely has more lore in the chef world. Why do you guys choose Peking? I'm sure there's a reason.
So if you go back to like back in the late 1800s is when the first Peking duck arrived in America. Like it's an original, the origin is from China. And that was the duck that was really only being raised out there on Long Island. So that's again what our great grandfather only got into is the only duck available to raise at the time out there. And we find the Peking duck is we're obviously biased, but it's the tastiest duck. It's a more mild flavor compared to a Muscovy or a Moulard or other type of ducks out there. And the other types of ducks have a more of that metallically flavor, where the Peking duck is a lot. If someone has never tasted duck before, they have kind of the thinking that it's going to taste very gamey. Like our duck can compare it to a New York strip. With that mild flavor and tenderness.
Oh, that's super interesting because I as someone who loves duck, like I'm on board for any kind of variation of duck, and I've tasted your
Okay.
product; it is delicious. But I think that that's such a great strategy when you're building a brand is to think about, okay, we're dealing with a product that might have some preconceptions as far as like you know accessibility or flavor. To do something that's approachable, I think is smart. But I don't want to confuse for those listening the type of duck that we're talking about with the dish because those are two different things, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Well, just the G off, just one letter.
Yes,
Pekin versus
exactly.
Peking.
Both delicious, both delicious.
Yes.
Now, other than sort of the you know sort of taste, are there advantages to raising solely Peking duck that you know maybe the average you know consumer doesn't know? Like, is it more cost effective? Is it more easy to manage? Are there other sort of behind the scenes things that you know come with that one type?
Michael, you want to go? I can go.
I was going to say that's a good question, but like Joey didn't touch on it earlier too. But we're four boys, we're four brothers, and Joey's the oldest, and then I'm number 3, but number 2, Jimmy, but he's Dr. Jim because he's a veterinarian too, and so he followed like our dad's footsteps, and he was on our more operation side, but then a couple of years ago became president of our operation in Jurgielewicz. So he has that knowledge, the same knowledge my dad has with the veterinarian background. And he made the process even like more efficient on raising and our ducks, and the biosecurity is such a huge thing right now, as you had touched about, like obviously bird flu is going around very badly right now. So the higher, stricter biosecurity you have, the less chance you have of getting bird flu. And so that has been really his biggest push and processes he's been implementing with our company since he became president back in 2020, I think, is when he started as president. But the raising of Peking ducks is, we find it easy because that's the only thing we know. But I don't know the difference, actually, me personally. We probably would need to phone a friend and call our brother, Dr. Jim, in to see how he can compare it to raising the other breeds of ducks. But the Peking duck has been the only thing, like I said, I keep repeating myself, the only thing we know and do. You have anything, Joey?
No, but it also goes to what is one of the most commonly used ducks too. So you look at like Peking ducks have been consumed in China, I mean, for thousands of years. So we always like to say, like when Michael's talking about like relate to an expert, everything like that, that was one of our reasons behind it. It was the only meal of the emperors and eventually made it to the commoners, then to North America for that specific dish. And also in North America, still 80% of our business and probably of the duck industry as a whole goes to the Asian markets, Asian restaurants, Asian barbecue shops. So that's really what it's really what the market is demanding. And then you start getting into the science of it, of the perfect meat to fat ratio for those dishes, the flavor, and so on.
I know that part of like what the market demands is things like sustainability practices. And I know that you use a lot of sustainability and eco-friendly farming practices on your farm. And one thing I was reading about was how your ducks actually have a lower fat ratio on them. And I was going through all of the things that you sell and how you're really utilizing a lot of parts of the duck. You're selling duck tongues, which I didn't even know were a thing people ate, and the feet and the carcasses. But one thing I didn't see, which I'm a pastry chef, so when I think of duck, I think of duck fat and how I can use it in things like pastries, like a duck fat madeleine, or using it in that way. But I don't see that you sell it. So can you talk a little bit about that part of your business model?
So we do. I like to say we are sustainable before it was cool. It was kind of just we're farmers, so it was something we always did. So, of course, all the waste from the farm, the manure, the poop, I have a lot of kids, so that's our PG version, is used for fertilizer for the fields. We save all the feathers after processing, and they're dried and washed to make comforters and pillows and your ski coats out there. And then, like you're talking about all the parts, we harvest and save every single part. If the duck isn't going for the head-on feed-on, we're saving the necks and the heads for certain types of stocks, Asian treats, or even we started a new line of pet treats called Duck Country. And so we actually dry them and they're shelf stable. And you can get it. We sell those on a different website or to certain retailers. We do rendered fat. I hope it's on our website. We have to double check that, Michael.
It is.
I made sure. That is liquid gold. So that's what we do. We do render here the fat, and we do even collect some of the leaf flat from inside of the carcass for that. So that's one of the best flavors for everything. And it's really becoming popular too with a lot of the anti-seed oil people. So a lot of people are looking for the different alternative fats that were always there. But for example, duck fat is a great one.
Yeah, like rendered duck fat French fries. French fries are best in rendered duck fat, but then
oh yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, like
you don't know this, but or maybe you do. But there's actually a restaurant in Maine that is called Duck Fat, and that's
they use our duck fat. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
we
so
do.
So you know.
5-gallon bucket of duck fat. I forget how many a week they go through. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, I love their duck fat caramel milkshake.
See, that doesn't like compute to me. That seems gross. But Jamie, I'm going to take your word on it that it's by far the most delicious thing out there.
But Jamie, on the pastry chef, you said you are. That's amazing. And recently, so our dad, he says he's retired, but he's really very involved in a lot of things still. He loves doing R&D projects, and his latest one is we are now doing pasteurized liquid duck eggs, and we've been doing a ton of research on it, and it has like the moisture levels of duck eggs is perfect for pastry, and I have our biggest sales for them out now is up in San Francisco, and we're selling them to egg noodle shops for like, Chinese egg noodle soups.
Oh, nice.
But it's still a very small part of our business, but we're looking to expand that and get into more of the bakery end. So we're going to have to send you some liquid duck eggs.
Custards, ice creams,
yes,
which are egg based. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love that.
It has sort of an attractiveness to it. Like anyone can get a custard made with chicken eggs, but when you add the word duck egg to it, it seems a little more luxurious, right?
Like Joey just had this. If you can find the name, Joey, that bagel shop,
the bagel joint in Brooklyn.
What
is doing it? They're doing a duck egg bagel. So they're using the duck eggs to make a true egg bagel.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've obviously taken a lot of steps, not only to make sure that like the traditional sort of duck byproduct is flourishing, right? And I think I say that as like maybe the legs or the breasts and the things that you would see on, center of the plate menus across the entire country, entire world. But you're leaning into these other things. Like I love the idea of the pet food, because if I know what people will spend a ridiculous amount of money on, it's their pets. So like, it's just, to me, it's like light bulb going off in the head. It's awesome. But then you think about the other stuff, the things that aren't necessarily consumed, like feathers. And again, you mentioned going into your ski coats, and we're in the heart of ski country up here in New England. Like that's something that is imperative to keeping you warm. So huge credit on sort of diversifying there. Here's my question though. Do you think there's ever going to be a time where, or maybe this already exists, where the byproduct sales outperform those center of the plate, again, breasts, confit legs? Like, has that happened, or do you think it could happen?
It definitely has the potential to happen. We just have to keep reminding ourselves that it's a byproduct for a reason, that the main goal is whole ducks, is selling whole ducks, duck breasts, and that this is the gravy. So if we can try to increase the value or the profitability of other items, that can help us to make duck more affordable for in a retail atmosphere, or for it doesn't have to be served in a Michelin star restaurant. It just helps us balance out our costs.
No, I love that. And is there, so, kind of going back a little bit to something we talked about earlier, is this sort of hesitation of consumers to eat duck? Obviously, I love duck. I'm not going to question the fact that you both love ducks. Michael, you told me you just had a kid. There's no question your first egg that kid's going to have will probably be a duck egg. What is the biggest challenge in your eyes to getting people over the hump with duck? Like, how does that, how does that conversation happen? And what do you find is the most sort of the easiest path to get people on board with this sort of beautiful product?
Oh, that's always our biggest question, and what we try to achieve. Like Joey always says, in the US, we have over 300 million people living here, but there's only around 25 million ducks processed a year. So if we can just get 1% more of people trying duck who's never tried it before, there will be a huge increase on the duck sales end. And we have been seeing in the past 10 years huge growth in the duck world. Like 2018, Wall Street Journal named duck the protein of the year. And since then, we've been seeing you see it more and more on menus around the country, not just on Asian or French, where people usually gravitate towards. They hear duck, they're going to think Chinese, Asian, or high-end French, and they could be intimidated by it and are afraid to cook it at home. But we've come up with recipes that make it extremely easy to cook duck at your house. Like duck legs is the easiest actually thing to ever cook, where we just bake it in our oven at 300 degrees, and it's instead of confit, you can just roast it. And during COVID times, Joey and I launched a dry aged duck room, and where we have dry aged duck crowns, whole ducks, to make that even easier for the everyday chef to bring in.
Are you in newborn still, or are you in 3-6?
Joey, you jump in.
Right now.
Joey, you're muted, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
Look, he just ate.
Did we lose him?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. No, I'd say going off what Michael was saying was one of the biggest things is accessibility. So that was is we have the option now you can buy on our website. We can get it to you if you live in the Northeast the next day. Duck. Not recently, probably in the 2019ish, we started a fresh duck program with Whole Foods. We started one with ShopRite. BJ's Wholesale Market, where you guys are, they do a day. We do actually twice a week fresh duck shipments to them. So you see that popularity, and if there's a fresh duck on the shelf, people are going to buy it, and that's really the biggest thing is trying to get a lot of these old school meat buyers to get over the fact that no one wants duck or no one's going to buy it. And then on the restaurant end is just getting people going to culinary schools, teaching students what duck is. And really the biggest thing is just getting them to try it. Once they try it, they love it. I don't think I ever found anyone that if we cooked a duck breast perfectly for them or a duck leg that has been like, no, I'm never eating duck again. It's a win every single time. So it's really that accessibility and just getting someone just to try it.
And I think you both touched on this, is that it can be intimidating to cook something that you're unfamiliar with. And Michael, I know you mentioned that duck confit is probably one of the easiest things that you can make. It's probably my favorite way to eat duck, but it could be intimidating dealing with that much fat, or it could be like expensive if you have like hot fat and you spill it. And then Joe, you were talking about how you can buy whole ducks. Can you roast a whole duck like you would roast a whole chicken? Or are there any other tips or easy entry points for people to start cooking duck at home, like tips, tricks, or anything like that you can share with us?
So whole ducks is similar to a chicken. Everyone just has to remember it's all dark meat. So similar roasting times. The best way is rotisserie if you have a rotisserie grill to do a whole duck. But easy tips for at home, depending if you have a smaller kitchen or a smaller apartment, is duck breast, a little bit of salt and pepper. Start it in a cold pan. That's the biggest thing. Don't start in a hot pan because you won't be able to render fat properly. So heat the duck breast with that pan, medium heat for 16 to 17 minutes. Flip it over for 1 to 2 just to brown the other side. And you can eat duck medium rare. It's perfect. Have it just like a fillet. And then duck legs is, again, 2 hours low and slow, 300 degrees, a little bit of salt and pepper, and broil if you want to crisp up the duck leg a little bit, and it will literally fall off the bone. It's a hero maker.
Like how we could get into, like, obviously there's a couple duck brands out there, but what makes our duck so special, where, as Jamie, you're saying about duck leg confit, you need a bunch of rendered fat, but our duck has, on the duck legs especially, we have a higher fat to meat ratio. So you can just roast that in there, and with all that extra fat on our legs, it makes it taste like a confit. So you don't need to take as much time as it takes for the confit, but you still get that same end effect almost with the confit.
Oh, that's great. That takes that pressure, that scariness out of it. I know I worked at a French restaurant, and we would like season them for 2 days out in
Right.
like uncovered in the walk-in, and then they would go overnight in the duck fat, and then we would pull them out and cool them. Then we would crisp them up to order. It was quite the process. So me
Yes.
thinking of doing that at home it's not something that I want to dive into personally, unless I've got like a lot of time to spare. So I love that. And I know you also do have other duck products. I know that I did see duck sausage on your website as well. Are there other duck products like that you sell?
Like Joey is really good in R&D too. Him and my dad, and they came up with a couple months ago our duck carnitas, which is our we confit the legs and then debone it, and we just shred the meat and then have a couple different spices in there, and all you have to do is heat and serve. Nice little corn tortilla, cilantro, onion, and salsa on top. Unreal. But that is super versatile too. It doesn't have to say just go in to make tacos. You can do it on like a club sandwich with pulled duck meat. There's nachos, quesadillas, like everything. We've been seeing a big pickup and interest in this duck carnita meat that we just launched.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
That's so interesting because I love the idea of extending duck beyond what you mentioned, like way back when, like the Asian or the classical French, like no one eats duck l'orange anymore. Like people were eating different types of product. And I go back a little bit to like 2 years ago was the university's 50th anniversary gala, and we did a duck hot dog, like a duck chili dog. It was outstanding. Like we took the duck meat, we made the dog with it, and then we took all the innards and the livers and made a chili out of it. It was
Wow.
so good, so good. So huge
Wait, I
opportunity.
have one question.
Okay,
Can you grind duck meat and like have like ground duck
Yes.
burger? Would you call it?
yeah.
Is that what you would
Yes.
call it?
Definitely.
Just ground duck, I guess you'd call it,
Right.
right?
We have a ground duck skew that chefs buy to make meatballs or
But it's best
duck
to use
burgers.
like a duck leg or a duck thigh for the ground, so it
Well, you
doesn't get
mentioned
like not. So it's firmer, the meat, after you grind it.
see the thing, and this is like from a chef's perspective. When you say like a whole duck, it's just like a whole chicken, but it's all dark meat. Like how that's such a good thing because the best part of the chicken is the dark meat. But that's I'm
Yes.
biased. I'm like that's
100% agree.
I'm getting excited here. I got to calm down. So either way, so many opportunities with duck, and I'm so grateful that you guys took the time to come here and tell us your story. Tell us all about how Jurgielewicz duck is the most approachable duck that you can get. So we're honored to have you guys, and keep doing what you're doing because duck is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having us on here. It's been amazing.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.